Niacin, or vitamin B3, might not be the first thing that comes to mind when we think of mental health, but it has been quietly woven into the story of mood, cognition, and emotional stability for nearly a century. As one of the essential B vitamins, niacin is deeply involved in the biochemical pathways that regulate brain function, and emerging research is reviving interest in how this humble nutrient may help support conditions like depression, anxiety, and even schizophrenia. It's not a magic bullet, but the more we learn about the brain's dependence on energy, neurotransmitters, and cellular repair, the more important niacin begins to look in the bigger picture of psychological well-being. One of niacin's primary roles in the body is the creation of NAD and NADP, two coenzymes that power the mitochondria in every cell, including brain cells. These compounds are absolutely essential for generating the energy needed to maintain mood stability, focus, and mental clarity. The brain consumes about 20% of the body's total energy, even though it only accounts for about 2% of body weight. That's a lot of demand for a relatively small organ. Without sufficient niacin to keep NAD production flowing, neurons can't function properly. Signals slow down. Neurotransmitters falter.
Repairmechanismus lag.
Over time, this metabolic sluggishness may contribute to symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, apathy, or mood swings that mimic more familiar mental health diagnoses. Historically, one of the first signs of severe niacin deficiency, pellagra, was profound neuropsychiatric symptoms. People with pellagra would not only develop the classic dermatitis and diarrhea, but also experience dementia, paranoia, delusions, and deep depression. These effects were so dramatic that pellagra was often mistaken for a mental illness before its nutritional cause was discovered. Once patients were given niacin, many of these symptoms reversed. That history, though extreme, underscores how tightly niacin is connected to brain chemistry and behavior. Today, researchers are looking more closely at subtler forms of niacin deficiency, those that don't cause full-blown pellagra but may still impact mental health. Some studies have linked low niacin or NAD levels to increased risk of depression, especially in people under chronic stress, poor diets, or metabolic conditions that burn through B vitamins more quickly. Others have explored the potential use of niacin in treatment-resistant depression, where conventional antidepressants don't work. Niacin's involvement in serotonin and dopamine synthesis, two key mood-regulating neurotransmitters, may help explain why. If the brain doesn't have the raw materials or energy to produce these chemicals, no amount of receptor tweaking from medications will fill the gap. Supporting the nutritional foundation is an important and often overlooked strategy. Anxiety is another area where niacin may play a calming role. Through its effect on GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, niacin can help soothe the nervous system. Some people even report a temporary calming effect from high-dose niacin supplements, though this shouldn't be used casually or without medical guidance, as high doses can cause uncomfortable flushing or liver stress. Still, it points to a broader truth. When the body's metabolic and neurological systems are well-nourished, emotional regulation tends to follow. More controversially, niacin has even been explored in the context of schizophrenia, a complex and often misunderstood mental illness. Orthomolecular psychiatry pioneer Abram Hoffer famously used high-dose niacin therapy in the 1950s and 60s to support people with schizophrenia, with some reported cases of symptom improvement. Though mainstream psychiatry has largely dismissed these early findings, modern researchers are starting to revisit the idea, not necessarily to replace antipsychotic medication, but to better understand how NAD depletion, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial dysfunction may contribute to the disease process. Some newer theories suggest that a subset of schizophrenia may involve disruptions in the kynurenine pathway, where tryptophan is metabolized either into serotonin or into neurotoxic or neuroprotective metabolites. Niacin plays a regulatory role here too, helping modulate which pathway gets activated. It's early days, but the potential implications are significant. For individuals without a clinical diagnosis, but still struggling with mental fog, low energy, irritability, or chronic stress, ensuring adequate niacin intake can be a simple yet effective part of a broader self-care strategy. That doesn't mean rushing to megadose supplements, just paying attention to diet and ensuring your plate regularly includes niacin-rich foods like turkey, chicken, tuna, peanuts, mushrooms, and whole grains. For those with digestive issues, alcoholism, high-stress lifestyles, or nutrient-poor diets, supplementation might be appropriate, especially in consultation with a healthcare provider. It's not about replacing therapy or medication, but strengthening the biological ground floor so that other treatments have a chance to work more effectively. Mental health is complicated. It involves genes, environment, trauma, relationships, and lifestyle. But beneath all of that is a simple fact. The brain is a living organ that depends on nutrients to do its job. Niacin may not be flashy, but it's a key part of that foundation, powering the neurons, supporting the messengers, and helping clear the metabolic clutter that can drag the mind down. If clarity, calm, and resilience are what you're after, B3 deserves a closer look. Sometimes the smallest molecules make the biggest difference.